Okay, this is my first ever Apex video. Please don't go too hard on me. I'm just trying to fit in, you know? And this is about movement and fun little tips, tricks that you can use to improve your gameplay. So today, if you guys can tell by the title of today's video, yeah, I am gonna be talking about movement tips, and this is my first ever video, I guess, on Apex. That's me talking more. I want to start doing more often, but it's gonna be about movement, which is like the biggest thing in this game. You're gonna be running around every single game, so it doesn't matter what you're gonna be doing. You're gonna be doing movement. So we're gonna be starting off with basic tips, little fun facts, as you can say. But one of the tips that is a very high, like, people don't really understand this, which I see a lot in lower ranks. Put out your fist more often. If you don't, well, you're not gonna be able to run around the map more often. Like, around getting into more fights, you're gonna be a lot slower. You're gonna feel slower, and it's just easier pretty much for movement if you have your fist out. Second, well, crouch walking, there's, I would say, two different types of ways that you can push people. Crouch walking makes it a lot slower, as you can tell, but it's harder for them to hear you. Or you can just take plan B and just full sprint, like full sprint, which it's gonna be a lot louder, more chaotic. But one thing I don't see a lot of people doing is slide canceling, and whenever they're doing it, they're jumping and sliding. That's not the way to go. You slide, jump, slide, jump, slide, jump, and you can wall jump, but that's gonna be for later. I'm gonna show you guys later. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the basic movement tips. For the more complicated movement tips, I'm gonna be wall jumping, bunny hopping, stuff like that. Stuff that you don't really see people do. Show you. What you want to do is slide, jump, jump again. Alright, once you hit the wall, right here, you want to jump. So once you get the little animation that you're like against the wall, you're gonna want to jump again. But do that while you're sliding, because that's how, I don't know, like, what's processing in the game, but it makes you jump high like that. It might take you a bit of practice, but there's a lot of cool little neat tricks that you can do with it. Like, for example, you can do this. Let's say there's an enemy right here where the jump out is. You can slide, shoot them. It's gonna be a lot harder for them to track you while you're doing that. In sliding in general. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the slide canceling. We'll move on to the next bit. Okay, another tip is to not aim as much on the enemy. I know that sounds very dumb, but like, here's why. Your crosshair is a lot slower, you can tell, unless you have it higher, but I prefer to have it slower. It's easier to track people. But if you hit fire like this, there's a chance for you to hit a headshot. It's not always, but if you're aiming, it's gonna be very more like side of the difficult side to hit a headshot while you're aiming. That's why whenever you're playing up close, you should always hit fire, and you have more freedom on your movement. Like, you can crouch shoot without holding recoil. It's a lot easier. For guns like the Sentinel, whatever, it's not gonna be the same. The longbow, because it has a wider bullet velocity, so not all the time it's gonna hit. But with the SMGs, ARs, it's a lot closer, especially with the pistols, crosshair, and you can beam people. But you shouldn't do that while tracking people, unless they're super close, like at least this close. But while you're tracking, you should just move side to side because you have no recoil while you're moving.
I'm out of heavy ammo.
So it's gonna be a lot easier to hit targets. And that also goes for another reason, or another example. You should not be holding your recoil while you're standing still on an enemy. You see how the recoil is terrible, whatever. This is the actual recoil. It's basic, I guess. If you do this, I'm not holding down the recoil button. My right analog. I'm not holding it down, I'm just moving. So if you move while shooting, the recoil, it's a lot easier. And it doesn't really have that much recoil. So that's another tip. And while you're ADSing, it depends on what sight you want. So a sight like, for example, the two times, it's a lot slower than the one times. Look, so this is the 2 times. This is the 1 times. It's a lot faster. The 1 times is meant for closer, but 2 times is meant for more so in the medium field, so it's easier to track players. And I'm gonna move on to my next tip. Tip is you want to slide off of an edge of like a rock, a building, doesn't matter, because you'll get a lot more movement speed. Like that's just non-sliding. Look, while you're doing that, you don't go as far, but you can tell when you're sliding off of a rock. You can go a lot farther. Look, so this is sliding while on a rock, like not at the edge. Go right here. But this is sliding while not on the edge of the rock. You see, you go farther, and it can go a long way. Like let's say you're sliding off a mountain, it can go a long way. And another tip, it's not really movement, but I need, like, a lot of players, I see this a lot, is you should always armor swap before you res someone. Always. Every single time you get in a fight, always armor swap. I see a lot of newer players not knowing that you should always armor swap, because you never know when there's gonna be a third party. And you should just get in the habit of doing that. Always crouch while you're fighting an enemy, because it can get you an upper hand that can completely change your game. If you're shooting someone, you're probably not gonna get a headshot, but it's gonna take a quick minute for your recoil to build up. But for example, it's a lot easier, like I was saying earlier, with the hipfire to do it. But let's say you're like right here and you can't hipfire, because the recoil, you can never trust the game. It's gonna be moving, they're gonna be moving, they're not gonna be standing still. If you crouch while shooting and they're shooting at you, they're most likely gonna be aiming for your head. And it could like completely change the way of your game. It can change the way that you fight, it can change how many fights you win. Every single one of these little movement tips go a long way. And I'm gonna go on to my next one. Is gonna be to peek a corner every time you get in a fight, okay? So let's say you're shooting someone, right? Shooting them, they shoot you back, they do more damage. Your team should be right behind you if you have a decent team. Stick with your team, and if you're peeking, you could pop a bat, reset, reload. You can always go up top, right then. Which they only see this, they only see you. It's gonna be, you're gonna have the upper hand. And you should know when to peek. Like let's say you're 1 HP, your team's full, or there's a full team. You're re-peeking, and you just have an upper hand because you can go up top, go to the side. They don't know what you're gonna be doing. Like they're gonna be looking up here, you can just beam them. You can at least crack or do half of damage to your body shield before they can even see you. Okay, so if there's one last player, there's a completely different tip. One last player in an enemy team, and your team is very low, about 3 of you. try to help them as much as you can. If you're getting chased by the enemy and like you're getting chased, it's one more, your team's not there, obviously you should run, restart. And by the time you restart, your team should be there. And if it's one more guy and you see your team struggling, we'll help them. Because your team, well, this is a team-based game, right? So you should be helping your team 24/7. Which I see a lot of newer players not doing. They're not helping their teammates, they're just running away, whenever they get low. They run away and go heal, or and they let their team to die. Like they just let them die. Which you should never do, because it can go both ways. It can ruin your game and your teammate's game. Because you're not gonna be able to get your teammate back if they're on the box just waiting. Most likely they will be baiting it. And yeah, so you should always stick with your team. Even if you get to lose the fight, try to help as much as you can. I understand if your team's just dumb pushing, you shouldn't, like, you should obviously help them. But if you need to reset, like you absolutely have to, your team is losing the fight, it's obvious that you guys aren't gonna win, you should try to reset. But obviously you should help your team. So it depends on the situation. So yeah. And the re-peeking, that's pretty much it for that bit. Okay, for my last tip, it's gonna be climbing. This has been in the game since day one. It's a major part of the game, so you should obviously like master it. You should learn how to climb a wall. Like, obviously, you jump, you climb. That's the easiest one. But there's many ways that you can use climbing for an advantage in a fight. Like, for example, if you don't want the enemy to see you that much, you can just peek like this. They'll only see your head. Depends on what type of skin, what character you have. Like, it's gonna be pretty easy to see a Gibby like this, but if it's a Wraith, not that much. And you can just see the whole area, and they won't be able to see you. Which, another tip, it's climbing, but going to the side. You won't go as high up, but you can like scale a building, which it's gonna help out a lot if you need to go into the height or push a team that's up there and you don't know how to climb a building where there's, let's say, a box right there and you want to get on top of it. You can climb and go to the side. Obviously I don't think there's anywhere here that I can show you, but yeah, it could help you out a lot. Like, all you have to do is climb and go a little bit to the side that you want. And if someone's watching you, it can help them like not understand where you are. Let's say they're right here and they can hear you climbing right here, but you move to the right a little bit and let's say they have their gun out, okay? Let's say they have their gun out right here and they're trying to shoot you and you climb right here. It's gonna be a lot easier. And a little fun tip, always hold grenades. I don't see a lot of people doing this. Always hold grenades. You never know when you're gonna have to blow up a door, have to finish a kill, or do a bunch of damage. But you should always hold grenades at all times. It can change the way you fight. You can crack an entire team's shields with one arc star. You can use a thermite, just finish a kill if you need to, break a door. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys like and subscribe. This is very weird and new for me, so hope you guys don't go too hard on me. My first ever video like this, and I'm gonna be talking about on my different videos how to use different legends like Octane, Pathfinder, Brave, and yeah. Obviously I'm an Octane guy, so I know a bit of tips and tricks for him, but I hope you guys again like and subscribe. Thank you.